Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Arsenal 2, Newcastle 0. A seemingly simplistic victory for Arsenal, really and truly. Very, very good today. There's no doubt about that. In what was really a dead rubber and a bit of a warm-up game, really, and an opportunity for Arsenal just to stretch their legs ahead of what is going to be the biggest game of their season, the return leg against Villarreal on Thursday. I do want your final thoughts and feelings. We will keep you up to date as well. The Manchester United game has been delayed. There is currently no time given for a kickoff. There's going to be an update very, very soon. There are a few people that think the game is going to be called off because up until half an hour ago, the players were still at the hotel. Yes, the hotel's only 5 minutes away, but they haven't had a chance to warm up or anything. I'm not too sure how long this delay is going to be, but the game could be called off and come to an end. That's something that legitimately could be happening very, very soon. As I say, we'll keep you abreast of that news and of that information. But as we say, good victory today for Arsenal. Simplistic victory for Arsenal. Doesn't do much to the league situation in terms of top four races, European races, but a good, solid performance. The better team as well. I'm joined now by a gal that we're going to bring onto the air to have his say about the performance. Mate, what did you make of Arsenal's display today?
There's a lot of things that I want to speak about, Terry. In a game that was actually that didn't mean much for both sides, it seemed like Newcastle are pretty much safe. They're not going to get relegated. And Arsenal, we're not going to get that much higher up the table, realistically, at the end of the season. What I took away from this was David Luiz is integral to the way we play. From the opening moment, you've seen that ball that he played to Bellerin. No one else really does that from the back, from the rest of our centre-back pairings. Granit Xhaka at left-back didn't really get tested. Bellerin at right back, I don't think he's going to be playing in any of the meaningful games for the rest of the season, so it makes sense why he started today. Here's the questions I have for the Arsenal fans. Gabriel Martinelli not playing enough games this season. Is it an actual injury issue? Is it that he's trying to treat him similar to Foden? Or is this the biggest thing that I have to start questioning Arteta about? Because for a lot of people who support the manager and back the manager and understand there's issues and bigger things going on, one of the things that is unquestionably up to him is selecting the right players. And he has not selected Gabriel Martinelli in the majority of the games this season that we needed to win. And when he plays, this guy produces. So why is he not playing more games? Arteta, this is your job. This is your career on the line. Why are you not playing one of your most valuable pieces? You have to do that. And the other question I have is for Arsenal fans in general, do we have to start questioning Leno? I back Leno numerous times. You've seen me and Adam come on here and say, you know what, he's one of the best keepers in the league. But consistently this season, he's not produced. He's been unquestionably one of the more consistent players over the past couple of seasons. But this year, he's been poor. And we also have to ask ourselves, on Thursday, would it be crazy to say Ryan does have a shout over Leno? Or is that too reactionary?
From your point of view, what didn't you get today from Leno that you would normally want?
Leno didn't play today. Matt Ryan played today.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So let me rephrase the question. So what you saw from Matt Ryan today, what's Matt Ryan giving you that Leno didn't? That doesn't give you in game like today. So that's what I meant.
He just understands when he's in trouble to kick the ball long. Little things like that did not put us under any pressure from the defensive end, from the back end. When we're playing out the back, there would be times where he'd mix it up. Leno doesn't seem to mix it up. Leno doesn't seem to have. He's an amazing shot stopper. He's an amazing goalkeeper. He saved us numerous times, but his decision making has been questionable this season. Is it a little bit reactionary to say, you know what, Matt Ryan does deserve a chance in these games? Yes, he does deserve a chance in the Premier League. But is it reactionary to say he could be a better choice for Thursday? I don't know. If Arteta goes with Leno and Leno does have a poor performance, we'll be thinking to ourselves, should Matt Ryan have played? You're on mute, Terry.
Sorry, I think what's interesting, I was listening to some of the news at the same time. I don't think it's reactionary to ask the question. I don't think Leno has become as good a goalkeeper as was expected. I think he's a good goalkeeper. Is he world class? Is he brilliant? Is he amazing? Is he one of the best in the world? The answer's no, and he isn't. Is Ryan that goalkeeper? No, I don't think Ryan's going to be at that level either. I think what will happen until Arsenal buy or have a top class goalie, and I'm talking peak De Gea level. Forget our goalkeepers. Until you get somebody back of at least layman's level, layman, seaman, you're never going to be happy. You're an elite level club. You need a goalkeeper of the highest degree. And in the modern day game, they're very, very expensive and they're hard to come by. And you only start to notice this sometimes when you're looking to move on to those next levels, if you get around coming from. And I think with Arsenal, Ryan will come in and do well. But I think if you watch Ryan for a 20, 30, 40 game period, you'll see some of the same mistakes from him that you see from Leno at the same time. So I don't think it's necessarily about giving Ryan a chance. I think it's about Arsenal investing in a legitimate, either current world class or a goalkeeper with the ability to become world class to kind of move on to that next level.
I have one more thing to say, two things to say. One, Manchester United game didn't even start yet, and somehow the protest has overstaged the game. I was watching the game, and at times they were cutting in and out between the Manchester United protest and the Arsenal game. So that's crazy. And the second thing is, if Gabriel Martinelli does not start on Thursday and he's 100% fit, there's big questions to be asked. And at that point, anyone who's Arteta out, I can't even defend him at that point. It's just ridiculous.
On that point, you can't defend him, you mean, on Martinelli?
Yeah.
Kesh, what do you make of Martinelli not starting? Gal's kind of question it, saying, is it what's the reason behind him not starting enough games? He was excellent today. What do you think is?
For me, I think it was to do with just being lacking their physical edge, like his fitness, because he's come back from such a long-term injury. But what you've seen in the recent weeks, him coming on, he's shown that he's ready to be pushed back into the first team. First team starting 11, and it's about time he gives them those run of games in the important games. I don't think fans who are saying that Arteta don't like him, I don't believe in that, because what you've seen is he's played him in two of our most important games against Chelsea and Man United immediately after he came back from injury. So Arteta must see something behind the scenes as to why he's not, but I don't agree with it. He needs to be getting the game times that certain other people are getting.
Yeah, no, I hear you on it. The only thing that would make sense from an ability, if we get a bit of feedback from you and Kev, I'll put you on mute for a second. Very sorry. I feel like the injury element is the only one that makes sense. Every time I see Martinelli play, I just see a player who's excellent. I see a young player that's got the world at his feet, who again, I put him into the same class as the Sakas and the Emil Smith Rose. If Arsenal don't improve in the next 18 months or so, big clubs are going to come in looking and say, listen, we want to take this kid. We want to take this kid away. When Martinelli's been fit in the Arsenal team, I've seen him perform better than Lacazette, as an example, when I've seen him play, like in terms of goal scoring, creativity, and everything that kind of comes with it. So I kind of get where Gal's coming from in terms of, is there a reason? Is there an excuse? It doesn't seem to be. The only one that makes sense, and I can understand it from, or at least I understand why Mikel Arteta is looking to do it. I'm just checking the age of Gabriel here. What is he? He's still only 19 years of age. He's had a number of injuries. It could just be an element of bleeding him in, Phil Foden style, Mason Greenwood style, not wanting to play him too much. Was it 19 appearances I think he's made this season? One of them was in the Papa John's Trophy. What is that? I don't know what the Papa John's Trophy is.
League Cup.
No, that's not the league. Is that the football league when you can play like a youth team? That used to be the Johnson's Paint Trophy. Yeah, I get what that is. Okay, so he's played a bit. I think we'll see more of him next year. But it's going to be an interesting one in terms of ahead of. Do we learn anything today, Gal, ahead of the big game on Thursday night?
What we learned was exactly what we already said after the game that we played, the last game. David Luiz is integral to our build-up play and our attack as much as he is our defense. He's one of the biggest leaders on the pitch. And if he's going to be missing Thursday's game, it's going to be a big blow. Another thing that we learned is Granit Xhaka at left back is not necessarily the only issue. There's other issues in front of that. The midfield need to be protecting him. They need to be protecting the defensive areas. And we need more goals from our midfield. And today, Elneny scoring that goal was, I would say, the bigger difference in the game. Because Newcastle could have pushed us more if they knew that they didn't have a goal, if they weren't already a goal behind. But Elneny coming in, being that late option to score a goal, he's not always going to score a goal. That's his first Premier League goal, but we need more goals from our midfield. That's our third goal this season from the midfield. And Terry, I think Scott McTominay has more goals this season than our whole midfield, so we can't. You guys can't complain.
Scott McTominay is one of the highest goal scoring sort of. I know he's not a DM by trade, but the position he plays is DM. Like he sits there in that double pivot. Everyone moans. I love the Scott McTominay slander where people say, "Well, why
How
we
many goals do you have, Terry?"
7, I think.
He has more goals than our midfield in the Premier League this season and last season combined.
Yeah, I get that. I always love with the McTominay slander where the fans moan that we play with 2 DMs. But then when Scott is scoring goals, so that's good for a DM to score goals. Oh, but he's a box-to-boxer, isn't he? I'm like, so we don't play with 2 DMs then. I love that. Kesh, how about yourself, mate? Do you think this was good preparation for Thursday? Or is it almost irrelevant to what's going to happen?
For me, it's relevant, because as I said, Newcastle ain't exactly been an amazing team this year. As I said, when we was in a difficult period when we weren't winning games, I said the likes of Newcastle will beat them twice this season. The West Broms will beat them. The Fulham will at least beat them once and get a draw. So these are games that they're going the way I expected them to go. Thursday is all about the mental preparation and actually going out there and doing the job. Arsenal are so unpredictable. It doesn't matter what they do the previous game before in the league. It's about what team turns up on that day.
Yeah, no, I completely hear you and get you on that. I think that's why I think today's a bit of a sky. We're at a stage of the season. It's literally a dead rubber match. I don't think there's anything we learned today that we didn't already know about Arsenal. I don't think there's anything about this game where you think, oh, maybe we'll try this. What if this guy shone through as an example? It was a bit of a glorified training session for both teams. Newcastle, there's no way they're losing their last 4 games, and Fulham are winning their last 4 games. Newcastle are safe. Hello, little one. There's no way that bless.
I want to ask.
Get that.
Kesh, Leno or Ryan next game?
We're talking about the baby right now, bruv.
Oh, sorry.
For me, it doesn't really matter, man. Like, Ryan ain't exactly some amazing keeper. Leno, he's got his moments where he will do a moment of madness, but let's not forget that he kept us in that game in the first leg. So Leno is going to start. There's no doubt about it. I think the most important thing I can take from today's game is that we've got David Luiz back, which I've said that he's going to be an integral part going to that second leg. The other thing is we managed to get Aubameyang a goal, so at least that could breed some confidence in him because we need him firing. The chance that he missed in the first half that Elneny ended up getting onto and scoring, I was just thinking, God, like, we don't need that Aubameyang going into the second leg where he's fluffing chances. So let's hope that this goal gives him a bit of confidence and he can go in and get at least 2 to 3 goals.
No, I hear you on that completely, bro. Kendall's with us now, obviously a big Newcastle fan. What happened?
What? Did anything happen? Did we do anything? No, we had 1 shot on target. It was easily, we just reverted back to the exact same way we've been playing for, countless games before. We did absolutely nothing. That was easily up there for me with our worst performance of the season. That one on top of the Brighton 3-0. Probably both Brighton games, actually. And Sheffield United when we got beat by them as well. Obviously, we still got them to play. So, yeah, worst performance. One of the worst performances for me from the season all day long.
I do get that. I mean, do you feel that because you're safe, though, that's going to play a part now? Because I know that you're not mathematically safe, but there's no way you're losing 4. They're winning all 4. So it's almost, is it meaningless now?
Well, really, I wouldn't even put it past them to get relegated at this point. I'm honestly not lying. I genuinely, we've got Leicester next, Man City afterwards, Sheffield United, who've already beat us this season. Obviously, I know they're down, so they're going to see it as like, they're not too bothered. But then we've got Fulham last game of the season. So honestly, at this stage, I'm not saying that we're safe because we're not. We're really, really not safe. And if this continues the way that we've just played again today, I mean, Arsenal, who have struggled consistently all season, they wouldn't be where they are if they didn't, have gone out today and don't get us wrong, I'm not saying that they were bad and we were so bad that we made them look good. It was partly that, but they did have a relatively all right game. But we literally did nothing to nullify their threat. We didn't close them down like they were for us. There was 3 people on St. Maximin all at once. We didn't do anything like that. Martinelli was spinning Jacob Murphy all day long, all around the shop. The refereeing and officiating was horrible today. Xhaka should have been off, in my opinion. Obviously, Shah then ended up getting a red card, who was literally just stepped foot on the pitch after a 4 or 5 week injury. Like, it was just everything went wrong from like the off today. The early goal just, was what the game was going to do. And then obviously the second goal just killed it off, which was a great goal, by the way. But yeah, just wrong in every sense today. Absolutely horrendous.
I do hear you on that. I mean, it was one of the, I mean, I watched a little bit of the first half because I was streaming for the protest, watched the whole of the second. And it's probably the weirdest thing for Arsenal fans is it's probably the best I've seen Arsenal play in a long time in terms of being comfortable, the most amount of chances. But maybe it's because they're relaxed. And Arsenal have had a habit in for many years now when they relax and whatever they're chasing is done. So it used to be the title race was over, but they secured top 4, and then Arsenal would look amazing again. And it was soon as the season would start, the pressure was on, they'd fall apart. And I almost feel like today with Newcastle, I think Fulham's defeat yesterday, it's almost sent that message in of we don't need to fight anymore. And you never know, there could be a sting in the towel. I'm not too sure if indeed that's going to happen. I did want to get all your views on the protests at Man United today as well, as there's not much to talk about in the game. Igal, from your point of view, they broke
I seen it
and into the stadium. They held abuse at Jamie Carragher. They broke Sky's cameras. They stole corner flags. They re-broke back in. They broke into an executive box, as an example. Thousands and thousands of people are outside. What do you make of what Man United fans have done some Man United fans have done today in their protest?
Also, to add to that, I seen a guy jump on top of the flag. I seen a guy bring in a football and do a bicycle kick in Old Trafford on the Trafford end. So there are some people who were living their dreams today. Absolutely. I'm not going to lie. I found it funny at the beginning, but to be honest, it's disgraceful how some of the things they've done with COVID and everything that's going on. These guys have now disrupted the game. They've stopped the bus from coming in. So many things gone wrong. There's a level where you can protest and you're getting your point across, but when you take it too far, it turns into hooliganism. And at that point, you're taking away from the protest. You're destroying the meaning of the protest. You're now taking it to a level where it's gone too far. If people were going to the Emirates that day when I was at the protest, I wouldn't have gone in. That's the moment when I would say, you know what, this has gone too far. I'm going home, because at that point you've destroyed the meaning of the reason why you're there. And that's, to me, what I think it is. And hey, whoever opened that door and got in, the first person that did that, they started a mob effect. And you know what, in that situation, you need leaders, you need people to say, this is not the reason why we're here, and to stop people from trying to get in. But at that point, it's a mob effect and everyone goes in.
Well, the problem is with the leader thing is there are no leaders with this. This footage was taken from KJ at the beginning of it. And this started because one set of fans put a banner down for some photos in front of the Trinity statue, and another group of fans don't feel that you should put anything in front of or on the Trinity statue, and this ensued.
Oh, flipping hell. Jeez.
Take your shit flag off. Take your fucking camera.
KD got his camera flipped away from him as well. And I just, the thing, there is no leader. There is all these different sections of fans coming. And I hear your point on that. Kendall, what do you make of it? Do you think that United fans went too far today?
I completely agree with the gal in the sense of it's taken all of this now, and all the media coverage will be about the violence and about, you know, the destruction of Old Trafford and things like that. And it's going to be overshadowed by all of this. All I've seen today, in the middle of the Arsenal game, they literally started putting the game on a little side screen and started showing everything that was going on at Old Trafford. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just going to overshadow everything. It's going to overshadow the message. You can protest about your owners, like you can protest about the club, but don't then go and affect the only people who were not involved in everything that happened, i.e. the players who were locked in their hotel rooms for an extended period of time when this was all going on. The game's now delayed. Like, you're not affecting the Glazers in any way, shape or form by destroying property that will not cost them very much to replace. The players play on that pitch. The players are going to play a game today. All you're doing is affecting, as I say, the people who had no involvement in this, the players, the managers, the rest of the fans who have had to witness and will now be tarred with this, the brush of, you know, oh, Man United fans went and were destructive. You just, at the end of the day, they're obviously not bothered because they went and done it, but they just look like absolute tools. They just look like a tool doing that. It's absolutely ridiculous. Completely agree with a gal.
I think, Joe, for me, I said earlier in the stream that I thought it was quite historic, and I agree it is, because the pictures and scenes that we've seen are unprecedented in the Premier League. Do I agree with breaking some of Sky's cameras? One thing I definitely disagree with is taking the guys carrying the beers and having a drink. For me, I don't necessarily think that bit is necessary. But when we spoke to Johnny, because Johnny came on and said, it sounded like he spoke to other people, they wanted to get the game cancelled. They want to make as big a splash as possible so that it doesn't get... Because a lot of fans think now that Sky and everybody else are taken care of because the Super League's not happening, that they're going to try and brush this under the carpet quickly, and they wanted to make as big a splash as possible. So I understand why they've done it. Do I agree with every action that's been taken? Absolutely not. But it's had the desired effect, is it not, Kesh? Because it's the biggest news in the world right now, sporting-wise.
Listen, for me, it's a thought that's come across my mind when I'm talking about Arsenal. I felt to do that, but part of me will never allow myself to go over that line. But who am I to condemn other fans that's got this frustration that's been building up over years and years and years? We say, oh, it's not going to do anything to the Glazers, or why go so far? But the Glazers ain't thinking about fans when they're taking their money and not giving anything back. So I'm not going to be judgmental and start saying fans or this, fans or that. Yes, it's not cool to do vandalism, and it is your club, and you must show some respect towards your club. But frustration and emotions run wild. And it's been so many years building up. So who am I to even say anything about the Man United fans doing it? I'm sure there's lots of Arsenal fans that want to do that. Not saying that I'll join in.
No, bro, I hear you. I hear you in terms of that, and I hear both sides. I hear both sides on this, and I agree with you. I would not have done those things. I wouldn't have gone onto the pitch. I wouldn't have done the vandalism. I would be concerned that the media would twist it into like Gal said, thuggery, hooliganisms. It's not fans and everything.
That was exactly what I was saying. Like, that's all it's going to be. It's going to be that all Man United fans are violent and destructive, and like that's not what they were trying to do. Like, that's not the message. Like,
of course, I totally agree.
Judgmental.
No. I'm not saying you were.
No, I'm not saying you were. I'm saying that I get that I was being judgmental, but I wasn't.
At the same time, I empathize with people that want to make the biggest splash possible, because if they just stood outside, you saw what's happened with protests before. It would just be, a few Man United fans turned up, but then no one ever really reports on it. And I mean, they've got horses out now pushing the crowds back away from the stadium and everything else. But I think this might inspire others, or it will show others that, wow, look what we can do. We can actually make an impact. You know, I said this before in here. People said, if I give my tickets up, though, then tourists turn up. And my view was you all turn up and just stand around the stadium and don't let anybody in. Look what's happened. Fans do have the power to control their football clubs. They've just got to be willing to do what it takes. Now, I'm not saying break Sky's cameras, run on the pitch. Listen, the guys that brought footballs with them, I thought that was a little bit funny. Like there were two guys doing keepy ups. That was making me laugh. I think there's a certain limit to go to, but what they did outside the stadium, especially, I think more of that is needed. And more of that needs to be done going forward. I thought what they did at the hotel was fine. They weren't smashing the hotel up. They weren't threatening to hurt any of the players, but I think it's getting that message into everybody that this is serious and we're not going to let it go away. But definitely epic scenes today. There's a super chat that says, Terry, I'm here. Don't let the media fool you. We were let in, but I didn't condone the damage to the cameras. Certain fans didn't turn up to protest. I don't know what he means by certain fans didn't turn up to protest. I'd love your views on that original base. Annie, I will agree. When I say broken, I did have a few people message me privately and said, no one broke in, Terry. People opened it in the inside for us.
Yeah, there was pictures of like the security guard literally just holding the gate open for everyone to come in.
Well, I saw that. I thought that was like, I'm on minimum wage.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not.
But then it looks more like someone on the inside let them in. So I will take my words back and say it wasn't breaking in. It was very much a case of someone let them in. But that tells you there's people internally that agree with them.
You know what this is? This reminds me of like Hunger Games. you know when they're starting to start the game and then they're like, yo, we gotta sabotage the thing from the inside, and they started working together. That's what it was.
I get that. You can say something, Kelly.
Graham Souness got a field day with this one. You know he's going straight for Pogba. Pogba gave them the keys, innit?
Yeah. Paul Pogba's to blame. It's all on PP there. But listen, it's going to be an interesting night. I'm now intrigued to see what Gooners do on Thursday. You're not going to want to. Let me ask you this question: not breaking in or being let into the stadium. I'm going to phrase it in both ways, right? I'm going to put it both ways to not upset anybody. would you be angry as Arsenal fans if they were as big as United's protest today and it delays the game from kicking off and your players get stuck in hotels? Is that the right or wrong thing to do at this stage for Arsenal, Igal?
Honestly, I feel like the protest, whatever it's gonna. Let me say this again: the protest audience, the people who come for the protest, are not the same people who go to regular match games. So it's gonna be more rowdy regardless. If they do anything violent or anything like that, the club is gonna distance themselves from it. And if it delays the game or it does anything to affect the game, you know what? Some people will feel like they've gotten their point across. I feel like that would be anti-productive. It would actually show to the owners that, hey, these people are not fans if they're actually trying to affect the game in a negative way at all. And hey, it didn't have a good outcome for us the last time we did a protest. So I don't know if this protest is going to actually affect the ownership at all. Right now, we're hearing the ownership are getting pressure from possibly selling. If we can put pressure on them, but let's not do anything to damage the situation of the club. And the club itself, they need to fix up. So we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. As I say, what I have noticed though, even in our little group chat, is like jealousy. Oh no, it's not as good as that protest. Oh, it's better than your protest. It's sort of like, why does everyone care? Like for me, the anti's been up. It's like it is what it is. And I saw a lot of people like in the comments when we were live saying they should take all them points away from Man United. I'm like, see, you know, a week ago football was dead. And it's like, well, I thought fans were all going to stick together to get rid of bad owners. Suddenly, it's like, no. Speaking of bad owners, I want to not call you out on this. I want to back you on something, Kendall. I saw you sort of like frustrated in a tweet this week saying, how come suddenly the media only care about, no, not media, like ex-players and pundits suddenly care about bad owners when it's Man United and Arsenal, but have been backing Mike Ashley for years? Is it frustrating for you to see this as a Geordie?
Yeah, it's the most frustrating thing ever because it's like, you know, we weren't obviously involved in the Super League. Imagine us playing like that in the Super League. Oh my God, everyone will be getting rid of it. But yeah, obviously we weren't involved in the Super League, so you know it hasn't come up again. You know the Glazers, they're awful, Kroenke's awful, FSG's awful, etc., etc., etc. Obviously, you know Chelsea fans can't and Man City fans can't obviously go on the bad one vibe, but their decisions were, you know, poor. And yeah, it's really frustrating because we've had Rio Ferdinand in the past telling everyone, well, if you're so unhappy with the club, why don't you just buy the club? I'm like, right, because so every single person in Newcastle is going to buy a club. Like no one has £350 million to spend. We're not on like a global level like Man United are. Obviously the whole argument on that case, because I was like, Rio, why don't you just go and buy Man United if you're so unhappy, since that's what you told us to do? And everyone's like, yeah, but 4 billion is a lot more than 350 million. Yes, it is, but Man United's fan base is like far bigger and far more global and recognised than ours. So yeah, it's massively frustrating because it kind of shows exactly the whole reason the Super League was allowed to even be considered, because the bigger clubs, the more recognised clubs are more thought of than, you know, the likes of us. They're more cared about in the media. They're more, you know, understandably, obviously adored because they're on a bigger level. But it's just, as you say, we need to come together as fans in general, fans of football, to get rid of bad owners. There's been bad owners across leagues for years and years and years. And unfortunately, just Mike Ashley's kind of been the little, and Steve Bruce as well, has been the media darling. And, you know, he's doing his best. Newcastle fans expect too much. They're delusional. And we've been called that, whereas everyone's now saying, no, this is inspirational, what Man United fans are doing, blah, blah, blah.
You know what, though? You know what I would say about this is the only reason the pundits cared this time is because the Super League would have potentially hurt them. It could have been Sky and BT. If the Super League would have been universally loved as an idea, imagine they had the idea to do it, but there was jeopardy, so you could be relegated and new teams added to it.
Yeah.
You might have found West Ham's and Leicester's and everybody else going, well, we'll have a bit of that then, because if we qualify for Europe in this new system, we get, instead of an extra 100 million, an extra 50 million, we earn 400 million pounds. Like, teams might have gone for it.
Yeah.
If that happened, Sky and BT may not necessarily have won the rights for it. It could have been DAZN, it could have been Amazon, it could have been Disney, whoever. And then they're left in the lurch. Football died like they said it was going to. So they suddenly cared to attack them. But when it comes to what you notice, go back and look at, like, there's pictures of like the Gary Linekers of this world and people like this out for dinners and talking with people like the Glazers. You know, we know. Listen, I love Rio Ferdinand, but I do believe one of his products is sold at Sports Direct, right?
Yeah, he's got a line there. Yeah.
Look, he has a line of clothing that Sports Direct. He is not going to, and I back him on this as a business decision. He isn't going to damage something that makes him and his family money, or him and his business money, and in turn his family money, by doing it, because you're not objective. You're not objective in those scenarios, and it's very hard to be. We've seen that on social media this week, right? Where people, their objective, their views on things change depending on who is kind of involved, and I understand why, because that's a normal, natural thing to do. The only reason the Super League got universal condemnation is because it was going to impact all these people at the same time. BT and Sky were suddenly best friends because it's like, listen,
Yeah.
it's going to impact all of us. When it
Rio,
comes, you know,
Rio hurt his reputation as a man for the people by making that comment about Newcastle, because it almost shows that he's out of touch and he's completely left his I'm the guy from the area grew up on the block with the guys, to now being this multimillionaire. And by backing a multimillionaire, you've now said, you know what, I'm no longer with the people, I'm with the millionaires.
Yeah,
But no-
I mean, it's not unnecessarily, but he didn't have to come out and say Mike Ashley's horrible. Like, he didn't have to say that. He just didn't have to say that comment. He didn't have to make that comment. He could have just said, you know, I understand Newcastle fans' frustrations. Oh, that was it. Leave it at that. He didn't have to say anything. In fact, he didn't even have to make a comment. He could have just left it, not put his 2 pence worth in. That made him look like an idiot later on, because he wants his owners out now. And as well, he made the comment a couple of seasons ago, you know, oh, Rafa Benitez is so unhappy with Mike Ashley. Why doesn't he buy players himself? I'm like, really? Like, where are you getting this ridiculous thought from? Like, I've never heard him say anything like that about Ollie. I mean, you know, like, I've just never heard him say anything like that. But it's like anything you say, like anything like you're saying now, obviously think people don't care when it doesn't affect them. Things like racism and stuff, like UEFA around, you know, going to be bothered about that as much as they were about the Super League, because it doesn't personally affect them. It's like everything. If it doesn't affect people, it personally, or, you know, subjectively, then people don't care, and that's the sad part about it, really.
No, I get that. And to Gal's point, what I would say is, where I disagree with you, it's not an exclusively Rio Ferdinand millionaire versus working class person. Working class people do this to working class people every single day. We see it all the time, where it's like, oh, I back this. Yeah, but it's going to affect your business or the company you work for or your income. Oh, or one of your best friends is going to be impacted by it. So people change their tunes. It's when a friend or your business gets impacted by something. This weekend, there's a social media boycott. Now, I took a personal decision. We took the tweets down because I don't normally, it went against my better judgment. I don't normally broadcast things politically that I do, because I think politics should be private. That's my personal belief on things. Who I vote for, what I protest in, what I sort of stop paying for, what I walk away from, I tend to do privately. But we stuck to what we did. We're not posting on social media this weekend, barring YouTube. Some people have called it out on socials and said it's hypocritical. It's my job. I can't afford to not work for 3. It's my only job now. I can't afford to not work for 3 days. It's different. Football's not posting on socials. Great. But it isn't like the footballers. It isn't like football said, right, none of us are working for 3 days and we're giving all the income that we normally make to charity. Then that puts the pressure on it. Okay, I'll do the same then. I'll make that same gesture. So that's my point. It's like I have a belief in something, but then it's like, but I can't afford to have 3 days of not earning money. Rio Ferdinand's business might not be able to survive not having that line in Sports Direct. So he feels like he has to come out and back it. That's normal in life in some circumstances. But then it changes the other way. It's like, oh, my punditry job potentially could be at risk. So I'm going to have to stand up and say something. Most people, when they speak about things they agree or disagree with, it comes from a personal place or what impacts them the most. And we see it all the time, right down to really powerful messages. It's like 2 people can commit the same crime, but depending on who those 2 people are, everybody reacts to it very, very differently indeed. And it's a shame, really, that this kind of goes on. But both of you, I really appreciate you coming on and having your say. Arsenal 2, Newcastle 0. We will be back live after Man United Liverpool if it indeed happens. We'll keep you abreast of that, not via social media because we're not using it this weekend. But everyone who's tuned in, thank you. Igal, Kendall, amazing that you came on. Until next time, everyone, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again